20. That's how many men were hanged in Pennsylvania based on one spy's word, one man, one testimony. 20 lives simply erased. A spy who spent 2 years drinking with them, laughing with them, sleeping in their homes. They trusted him. They called him brother. Every night after they fell asleep, he wrote secret reports. The men who loved him never knew their friend was writing their deaths. He earned $12 a week. That is what 20 lives were worth to the men who hired him. $12. 20 people gone. His name was James McParlan. He worked for the Pinkerton Agency, the most powerful private intelligence operation in the United States. In 1870s Pennsylvania, where Irish miners died every day in the coal fields, his word was enough to send 20 to hang. This is the story of the Molly Maguires. 20 men were hanged for crimes they did not commit, and the spy whose lies killed them, Ireland. 1840s. The Great Famine killed 1 million people. Another 1 million fled on ships they called coffin boats, all gone. Thousands of Irish families arrived in northeastern Pennsylvania, the anthracite coal region, 5 counties covered in soot and ash. They escaped one kind of tyranny across the ocean. What waited in America was a different version of the very same kind of suffering. Signs in shop windows said Irish need not apply. The only work open to them was the deadliest job in the country, going underground. Coal mines, flooded tunnels, explosive gas, rotting beams. Every shift could be your last. Nobody in power would be held responsible. Schuylkill County alone, 566 miners killed, 1,600 more seriously injured, all within just 7 years. 1871, one county, 1 year, 112 miners dead, 339 injured. Owners did nothing at all. No emergency exits, no ventilation, no water pumps. Mine owners refused every single safety measure that could have saved those lives. Miners lived in company houses, shopped at company stores, got paid in scrip, fake money that only worked inside the company system. 5,500 children aged 7 to 16 worked the breakers, sorting coal from slate with bleeding fingers, pennies a week. 1869, the Avondale mine fire. 110 men trapped underground. No second exit. Every single one of them perished. A mine official wrote in 1875, "The life of a Pennsylvania coal miner is nothing short of a new form of human slavery." In that darkness, the Irish began to organize. A name spread through the coal patches like smoke in the night, the Molly Maguires. Nobody knew if it was real. An organization? A legend? A ghost story to scare bosses? That question would eventually cost 20 lives. Franklin Gowan, president of the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad. He controlled 2/3 of the coal mines in eastern Pennsylvania. Gowan wanted more than wealth. He wanted total monopoly. Every mine, every rail line, every piece of coal passing through his hands. One thing blocked him: a union. The Working Men's Benevolent Association, 30,000 members, 85% of all miners. He could not attack the union head-on. Public sympathy would side with starving workers. He needed to make America hate the miners. So he planted stories in the press. A secret Irish terror group called the Molly Maguires was murdering people across the coal region. Every killing in the coal fields got blamed on the Mollys. It didn't matter who did it. Union activity and terrorism became one word. 1873. Gowan went to Alan Pinkerton, founder of the most famous private detective agency in the entire country. Pinkerton listened and answered with words that sealed 20 fates. "I have the very man for you." That was all he had to say. The man, James McParlan, age 29. Born County Armagh, Ireland. Lost his Chicago tavern in the Great Fire of '71. Pay, $12 a week plus expenses. Mission, infiltrate the Molly Maguires. Find evidence. No deadline. Stay until it is done. Pinkerton's order, remain in the field until every cutthroat has paid with his life for the lives so cruelly taken. His exact words. October 1873. A man in torn clothes arrived at Port Clinton, Pennsylvania. He gave his name as James McKenna. McKenna's story. Fugitive counterfeiter, con artist, killer on the run. A perfect criminal backstory. Every single word was a lie. At the Sheridan House in Pottsville, McKenna bought round after round, whiskey for every Irishman in the room, night after night. He danced, he fought, he played cards, he bragged about crimes he never committed. The miners loved him, a reckless man, one of us. Every night after the men fell asleep, McKenna wrote coded reports to his Pinkerton handler. Names, dates, locations, everything. April 1874. McKenna joined the Ancient Order of Hibernians at Shenandoah. He had made it inside the inner walls. He said he belonged to the Buffalo, New York chapter. That chapter never existed. No one checked. Why question a fellow Irishman? McParlan believed the Hibernians were the Molly Maguires in disguise. He counted roughly 450 members in the county. He rose to secretary, the keeper of secrets. He sat in closed meetings, memorized every word, and wrote it all down after midnight. 2 lives at once, one among men who called him brother, one spent betraying every single thing those brothers said, month after month. But McParlan found no real evidence of organized crime. None. He wrote to Pinkerton, "I am sick and tired of this. I have nothing." No evidence. But Pinkerton needed results, and Gowan had paid. So McParlan stayed. And when he finally testified, he had plenty to say. Meanwhile, McKenna began courting Marianne Higgins, a local Irish woman. Another lie on top of the lies. Another life he would ruin. 2.5 years undercover. Reports every night. Drinking beside dead men walking. The longest betrayal in American history. December 1874. Gowan struck. He slashed wages. 20% for miners, 10% for laborers. Immediate. January 1875. The miners walked out. They called it the Long Strike. It would last 170 days. Gowan had stockpiled coal for months. He could wait. He knew starvation would break the miners faster than guns or courts ever could. Company stores cut credit overnight. Families went hungry. The company threw miners out of company houses in the dead of winter. A miner wrote, "I buried my youngest child." The day before it died, there was not a bit of food in the house. With 6 children left, violence erupted on every side. Coffin notices appeared on bosses' doors. Anonymous threats shaped like coffins. Fear went both ways. 24 mine officials were killed during the strike. Every paper in the state blamed the Molly Maguires for every single death. What the papers never said, the other side killed too. Company police shot miners. One boss bragged about the blood trails they left. Violence on both sides. But only one side was called criminal. Only one side had a paid liar sitting in their meetings taking notes. McParlan sat in the middle of it, watching, writing, filing his reports, waiting for the strike to end so the courtroom could begin. 170 days later, the miners broke. They went back at lower pay, the union collapsed. But Gowan still was not finished. August 1875. Alan Pinkerton wrote a letter, not to police, not to a judge, to his own private field manager only. His words, "The Molly Maguires are a species of thugs. Raise a vigilance committee. men ready to take fearful and terrible revenge. America's most powerful detective was not asking for lawful arrests. He was calling for killings, targeted, planned, off the books. December 1875. Vigilantes hit suspected Molly's homes. 1 man dead, 2 women inside. Tips had come from McParlan. McParlan was shaken. He wrote, "I will not be an accessory to the murder of women and children. I am done with this." His own words. But he did not quit. He stayed. Historians still argue about why. Duty, money, fear. We will probably never know his true reason. February 1876. Marianne whispered a warning. "People are talking. They think you work for the coal company, McKenna." Kehoe, the king of the Mollies, had ordered an investigation. If the rumors about McKenna proved true, McKenna was a dead man now. Marianne was not scared for him. She was disgusted. In their world, nothing was lower than an informer who betrayed his own people. McParlan knew. Staying was death. He ran that night, across frozen fields in the dark, men with axes right behind him, closing fast. He escaped. James McKenna vanished that night forever. But the most devastating part of this entire story was only about to begin. May 1876. Pottsville Courthouse. Murder trial. 5 men accused. Pinkerton guards at the doors. Tension everywhere. The star witness entered under armed escort. The attorney asked him one question. "State your full name for the court." Silence fell. 2 words. James McParlan. The air in the room changed instantly. Every person there understood what those 2 simple words meant. From the crowd came what reporters called a deep and universal groan. The fate of the prisoners had been sealed in that one moment. McParlan testified in 19 trials. He described plots, confessions, and murders in vivid detail he had never once reported before. At the prosecution table, Franklin Gowan himself. The man who paid for the spy was now using that spy's lies to prosecute the accused. Not one Irish person on any jury. The evidence? A paid spy and coerced confessions from defendants desperate to save their own lives. McParlan lied under oath. He was formally accused of perjury. He was never punished, but the lies were proven. That is historical fact. The verdict: 20 men sentenced to die. All Irish, convicted in rigged trials on the word of a single man, proven to lie under oath. June 21st, 1877. History would remember this date by the name it earned that morning: Black Thursday. Dawn, Pottsville. Schuylkill County Prison. 6 men walked to the gallows. 6 ropes, 6 trapdoors, 6 drops, 6 lives finished. Same hour, 30 miles away. Carbon County, Mouch Chunk. 4 more men. Same steps, same ropes, same ending. The same dead silence. 10 men hanged on one morning. 2 prisons. 1 coordinated execution. One of the largest mass hangings in American legal history. At Carbon County, one of the condemned asked to speak before dying. His name was Alexander Campbell. The guards gave him 1 moment. Campbell knelt on the stone floor of cell 17. He pressed his muddy hand against the wall and left a full print in the grime. His last words: "That mark will never be wiped out. It will remain forever to shame this county for hanging an innocent man today." He stared at the sheriff. He did not blink. He did not look away. He held that stare until the second they pulled the floor away. Then they hanged him. Alexander Campbell, 39 years old, a wife, children. They would never hear his name cleared in life. 10 more were hanged in the months after. The last, Kehoe, December 18, 1878, the king of the Mollies, gone. Kehoe died for a murder 16 years old. The evidence was a joke. A future governor would pardon him and call him an innocent martyr. 20 Irish men hanged, 1877 through 79, convicted on the lies of one paid spy and a handful of snitches. Historian Harold Orend called it one of the most astounding surrenders of sovereignty in the entire history of the United States. A private corporation hired a private spy. Private police made the arrests. The company's own lawyers ran the prosecution in court. The state of Pennsylvania only provided two things: the courtroom where the men were tried and the hangman who put the ropes on. The labor movement in the coal region was destroyed. For almost a decade, not one miner dared to organize. Not one voice was raised. America believed the story miners were criminals. That lie held for decades. Gowan had won the trials and the war on public truth. Pinkerton grew famous. The agency sold strike-breaking to Carnegie and Frick. More violence followed. The Homestead Massacre came next. McParlan was promoted, head of the entire Pinkerton Western Division in Denver. His new title, The Great Detective, he had delivered. 1906. McParlan tried the same methods in Idaho. Coerced confessions, rigged witnesses, tried to hang Union leaders again. Clarence Darrow defended the accused and won. He said of McParlan, "Watching and snaring his fellow men, can any calling sink lower?" McParlan died in Denver, May 1919. No children. Papers praised him. Historians later showed that most of it was fiction. Gowan shot himself in a Washington hotel, December 1889. No note was found. No one has ever explained why he did it. 1970. Hollywood made the Molly Maguires. Sean Connery played Kehoe. Richard Harris played McParlan. The film lost money. Director Martin Ritt had been blacklisted during the McCarthy era. For him, this was not entertainment. It was something very personal. 1979. 101 years after Kehoe hanged, Pennsylvania Governor Shapp signed a full and official pardon. Shapp declared the hanged men innocent. He called them martyrs to labor and heroes in the fight for fair treatment of American workers. The state admitted the trials were a sham. The evidence was, in their own words, inconclusive. 20 men died for nothing ever proven. Conan Doyle put McParlan in a Sherlock Holmes novel in 1914. Even Doyle called it a singular and terrible narrative. The handprint in Cell 17. Old Jail Museum. Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. They tried to wash it off. They painted over it. It stayed. They replastered the wall. They tore it down and rebuilt it from scratch. Every single time, the handprint came back. It's still there. The state called them innocent. The spy was proven a liar. The trials were rigged. After 150 years, the answer seems clear. That handprint has never faded. 150 years and counting. Neither should justice. 20 innocent men deserve at least that.